Now this might look long, and it is, but it's a fucking dwarf compared to the review I'd do for the end of time. Yeah, I'm gonna hate this one, frequently and loudly. Welcome to another Twatty Who review. Remember, no one whines about a show as much as a fan. In the few seconds before this episode begins proper, there was a tiny film called Time Crash, which I won't complain about much. Stephen Moffat didn't write the Fifth Doctor as the Fifth Doctor. He wrote him as Stephen Moffat writes the Doctor. One of Moffat's few flaws is that he writes the Doctor as exactly the same person regardless of his incarnation, which makes sense on the surface as they are the same man, but if you know anything about the character then you know that writing the Doctor as he is here, exactly the same as he is here, makes about as much sense as writing a character exactly the same before and after they had cataclysmic brain damage. He's the same person, but he's not exactly the same person. Okay, enough Time Crash. We're on to Voyage of the Damned, and the first colossally stupid thing on display. Okay, just so you know, that's not a cruise ship, it's a spaceship. How the fuck did that thing get through the TARDIS's walls? Yes, I know in Time Crash they had a line about the shields being down, but I call bullshit. The TARDIS is supposed to be almost infucking-vincible. I don't have any clips flat out stating that, but there's been plenty of inferences of that over the years. And even if it's not, you can't just get through the shell and into the interior. Why? Because the interior is not in the same dimension as the exterior. That's why the ship works. The only way into the TARDIS is through the doors or being teleported in. The ship should have its nose stuck in an empty police box.
Which box is larger?
That one.
Now which is larger?
That one.
But it looks smaller.
Well, that's because it's further away.
Exactly. If you could keep that exactly that distance away and have it here, the large one would fit inside a small one.
That's silly.
That's trans-dimensional engineering, a key Time Lord discovery.
Thank you, Tom Baker. And finally, even if the nose did get into the TARDIS, then how the fuck did it get so far into the interior? That bow is larger than the fucking exterior it's supposed to have gone through. A. How is he hearing that bell? The sound waves shouldn't be able to reach the air on the TARDIS. And B. Why would a spaceship have a bell? And C. Is a bell really how you would react if you think your ship's front has just vanished into another dimension? And yes, about the Titanic thing, it's still a spaceship. And yes, the rubber ring makes no sense because it's a spaceship. So the Doctor does something that pushes the spaceship away and materializes the TARDIS inside, where it seems that no one has noticed that they fucking crashed into something. And regardless of all the amazing details like plaques and all that crap, this is actually a spaceship.
Attention all passengers. The Titanic is now in orbit above Sol 3, also known as Earth. Population, human. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Christmas.
So after the intro we see the bridge, looking half sci-fi and half Victoriana. Usually a fun mix, but here it's entirely stupid because this is supposed to be an alien cruise liner that's come to Earth to show aliens our weird exotic customs like Christmas. Okay, fine, that's an interesting idea, but they decided that the best way to do it would be to build a spaceship recreation of the most famous ship in the planet's history, just so they could visit and not tell the locals that they're there. Imagine if people did that today. Whee! Let's bother this group of undiscovered people by sailing near them in a giant recreation of one of their canoes! Woo! And beyond all that stupidity, they chose to make the bridge look like an old Earth-ship bridge, even though this is a spaceship and its needs will be very different. Now let's make sure that our cruise ship, which is a massive recreation of one of their canoes, operates exactly like one of those canoes. There's a good chap, bring out the paddles! Actually, this is even worse than that, because at least they're both ships. This is a spaceship. It goes in 3 dimensions and is being operated by a steering wheel which can only go in 2. And then they finally decided to dress their officers in authentic-looking uniforms. Anyone who doesn't wear loincloths and mud will be fired. So yes, this is insanely expensive, insanely pointless, and worst of all, this is insane. In the worst way. Anything you want to do to make this worse, episode?
I think you might be entitled to a tot of rum. Just the one.
How do you know what rum is? Or what a tot is? Why is the rum gone? Because the aliens fucking stole it. And finally, I hope, we have all the dials and crap from a Victorian ship that tell you fuck all in space, and crazy blinking lights that also tell you fuck all. You really have to try to fail this much on two such different levels at the same time.
Well, it should be nice and quiet. It's only a level 5 planet down below. They don't even know we're here.
Of course, the Doctor saw the ship with his bare eyes, meaning that whatever tech they have to cover their tracks, it can be defeated by the power of sight. I'm pretty sure a keen astronomer could find that ship using only a telescope. Or failing that, wait about 24 hours and see if the International Space Station flies past and wonders what the fuck is going on. And then we have a beautifully pointless advertisement for the cruise line by the head of the company, who I think is called Max.
My name is Max.
Surely one group that you don't need to advertise cruises to are the people already on them. Also, I don't get why people, even fictional people, think that putting the head of the company in the adverts will make it a success, but I don't think I give that much of a shit. So yes, this is an alien cruise liner and a bunch of aliens who are here to experience Christmas. This is why they have angel robots, which resemble the Axons from John Pertwee's run, if the Axons were angel robots. The robots are here to answer questions, which is wonderful for exposition. Exposition that I've just explained, so moving on. The robots are going a bit mental, which, as we all know, means that they're ultimately going to try and kill people. But before that, we need to hear from someone who doesn't understand how space works.
Tell you what, if you can't fix them, throw them overboard.
There is no such thing as overboard in space, unless you're inside the classic Japanese puppet series Starfleet. So up on the party floor, the Doctor is making friends with Astrid, the designated companion for the special. Why is she called Astrid? Because Russell C Davies is still obsessed with calling companions little old lady names. And of course, the Doctor's got to be emo about Rose and Martha. Fuck you, Mr. Davies. This is how an actual Doctor deals with the loss of his companion. The third Doctor found out that his companion Jo had decided to leave him and marry someone that she basically said was a younger version of him. And there was years of subtle subtext to suggest that the third Doctor loved that companion. But all he does is take a glass of wine and drive off without a word. Brilliantly done. If the third Doctor was done today, he'd whine about the loss of Jo until he looked like Colin Baker. So the Doctor talks about travelling.
So you travel a lot?
All the time, just for fun. Well, that's the plan. Never quite works.
Must be rich, though.
Haven't got a penny.
Well, except for that massive stockpile of gold and other precious materials from all over the galaxy that I had in the TARDIS when I was Paul McGann. So some soon-to-be-deceased douches are laughing at the fat alien couple.
Just ignore him.
Somebody's tickled them.
I told us it was fancy dress.
Fancy dress. Fancy dress. You are all dressed in Earth clothes, so everything is fancy dress. Imagine someone from rural Poland trying to work out what type of Eskimo outfit is for formal wear and which is for a costume party. Can you see why this is daft? So this couple won their tickets in a contest, and they discuss an alien soap opera, which is a lot more interesting than discussing an Earth soap opera, and the Doctor uses the sonic screwdriver in a completely ridiculous way. It uses sound waves. It's a sonic device. It's not a fucking magic wand! And then I get to wonder about something else.
And a buffalo wing. They must be enormous, these buffalo. So many wings.
How are they eating human food? Okay, that's nitpicking. So one Star Wars wipe later, the captain raises even more questions.
She's an old ship.
Old ship. Old ship. You created a ship based on the Titanic how long ago for this? And they show their amazing alien technology to see the meteors. Those truly astounding binoculars actually let the viewer hear sound through the vacuum of space. Back on the party floor, the Doctor joins up with the others to get beamed down to Earth. Their tour guide is Mr. Copper, who apart from being awesome, gets everything about Earth wrong.
I am Mr. Copper, the ship's historian, and I shall be taking you to old London town in the country of UK, ruled over by good King Wenceslas. Now, human beings worship the great god Santa, creature with fearsome claws, and his wife Mary. And every Christmas Eve, the people of UK go to war with the country of Turkey. They then eat the Turkey people for Christmas dinner, like savages.
Excuse me, sorry, but, where did you get all this from?
Well, I have a first-class degree in earthonomics.
Earthonomics. Is that like having a degree in Mexico? And your only Earth expert is this guy, and yet you get a lot of details right on the ship. Like the flags. That makes sense. But back to Mr. Copper. He is brilliant. I would have loved to have seen him as a companion. He thinks he's an expert about everything, but is always wrong. It's a bit like having Rimmer as a companion. So the Doctor brings Astrid along and the last member of the party arrives, the only alien-looking alien in the episode. And the episode does its best to explain why no one's there to be terrified of him, because the place is deserted. On Earth, Astrid squeeze and they run into Bernard Cribbins, British national treasure and star of one of the two 1960s Doctor Who movies. He explains why everything's deserted.
London, at Christmas, not safe, is it?
Why?
Well, it's them up above. Look, Christmas before last, we had that big bloody spaceship, everyone standing on a roof. And then last year, that Christmas star electrocuting all over the place.
Yes, Bernard Cribbins is awesome, but why is the TV showing images corresponding to what he's saying? Simple. British TV takes orders from Bernard Cribbins. The Queen's also stayed, apparently also because she's awesome, but more likely because she's a Doctor Who fan and knows that if she's going to feature in the episode, she needs to stay at Buckingham Palace. So they get beamed back up because they suffered a power fluctuation. I do not know why adding to the power expenditure by beaming people back up was a good idea when they could have been kept on Earth until the power was fixed. But hey, I doubt the writer does either. Back on the bridge, the meteors are still being watched and they've changed course and are flying towards the ship. Why? Because the ship is magnetic. Well, the captain has magnetized the hull. Does anyone who knows anything about astronomy have any info on the likelihood of meteors being magnetic? I don't want to insinuate that the writer doesn't know anything about anything, but as the Doctor is being led away to the brig, he kind of says this.
You've got a rock storm heading for the ship and the shields are down!
And to avoid his fellow officer saving the day, the captain pulls a gun. Why the fuck is it an Earth-style gun? Would you like the crew taking you on a cruise to an undiscovered people to be armed only with spears? Actually, it's worse than that. Old, outdated spears which will be outthrown by the undiscovered people's spears. So the meteors approach the ship.
Has anyone checked the external shielding?
Information. You are all going to die.
That was a very non-sequitur and particular answer to a very particular question. I wonder how long they spent programming in all possible questions and answers. Is the pizza tonight? Information. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries. And it's not a case that they've been programmed to say only that after a certain point. Oh no, because the Doctor asks quite a few questions to them later on. Now this is for classic Who geeks.
Information. You are all going to die.
He is literally a robot of death. So the meteors hit and it looks like a disaster film on a TV budget. Which of course it is. Almost all the named characters are together in some place that's a bit more defended. The only survivor in their group who's not named is this guy, so you can guess what's going to happen to him. And the Doctor uses his magic wand to save all the important cast and we get told who the asshole of the group is.
You alright? No thanks to that, idiot.
The steward just died.
Then he's a dead idiot.
Oh, and I like the asshole. And the Doctor sees the TARDIS floating in space, something that wouldn't be a problem if the 10th Doctor was as awesome as the 2nd Doctor, who had his own TARDIS calling device.
Trouble is, once it's set adrift, it's programmed to lock onto the nearest centre of gravity, and that would be the Earth.
No, that would be the ship. Everything's got a gravitational pull, just the Earth's is much stronger. Of course, if it's heading to the strongest, then why hasn't it gone to the sun? So the Doctor calls the bridge and talks to Midshipman Frame, who even though he was recently shot in the side is doing okay, and over the course of the episode is going to do even more okay. Frame is played by one of the actors Russell T Davies said that he would have cast as the Doctor if he'd stayed on as producer. It's information like that that makes me happy that he did not have a 9-year and 4-Doctor stint like John Nathan Turner. So apparently the ship is going to crash into the planet and...
If we hit the planet, the nuclear storm explodes and wipes out life on Earth.
Doctor Who, whatever happened to destroying a small country, or a city, or even a town? You don't need to be big to be scary or impressive. And to make things worse, in Series 4 they show an alternate reality where the ship did indeed crash, and only London was destroyed. Continuity? What the fuck is that? So the Doctor monologues about how he's going to save them all, and my favourite asshole passenger asks a perfectly natural question.
And who the hell are you anyway?
And the Doctor replies with a speech that I'm just going to play and then whine about.
I'm the Doctor. I'm a Time Lord.
I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Casterbarus. I'm 903 years old, and I'm the man who's going to save your lives and all 6 billion people on the planet below. You got a problem with that?
1. Why do they care you're the Doctor? 2. Why do you think they know what a Time Lord is? 3. Why do you think where your planet is located adds to your importance? 4. The correct reaction to seeing that speech is not silence and awestruckness, it's punching the dickhead. And 5. This one is long. The Doctor's age. He's not fucking 903. He was 900 when he was the 6th Doctor and 953 in his first adventure as the 7th. Include the 7th long run and all the 8th stories, and he must be pushing 1300 years at this point. Why the fuck have all the writers of the new series ignored this piece of continuity, which is one of the few things that pretty much stayed in line all throughout the old series and fucked it up so consistently in the new series? It's like making the TARDIS's windows circular and then pretending that they've always been that shape, and then making comments every so often about the beautiful roundness of the windows. You're just pissing off the people who give a shit about continuity between the series. And the Doctor aging at the same rate as the show? That's fucking stupid, apart from the fact that it means there's almost no space for missing adventures. It also means that the 9th and 10th Doctors only had about 6 years between them. That's something like 3 weeks Time Lord time. I'm just hoping that someday the Doctor will claim he's 950-something and someone will call him out for lying about his age. And call him a twat. Because by then they can't call Ten a twat. Because he got himself killed like an emo. So back with the story of the Titanicing Inferno. Mr. Copper again shows why I think he's awesome by blathering on about shit that he doesn't know about to hilarious effect. They then find a half-broken robot angel. Of course, there are 2 people in the group who, even though they have no idea what's wrong with it, just happen to be able to know how to fix it.
What a stroke of luck!
Well, I suppose it was either that or the Doctor would yet again have to use his fucking magic wand. The Purple People Eaters have some drama, which of course will make everyone who's not a heartless cunt cry when they eventually die. Well, fuck that, because I am a heartless cunt. On the other end of the blockage, Astrid talks to Baka, who is a slight case of dying because he's a cyborg and is running low in power. And this society has even stupider bigotries than ours because cyborgs are apparently second-class citizens.
Cyborgs are getting equal rights. They passed a law back on Stowe. You can even get married.
Ooh, ha ha ha, topically nonsensical, and he's not even from Stowe. Now, I wonder how that society would react to seeing RoboCop. It is, after all, pretty much about the creation of the American Cyber Jesus. So Astrid saves his life by recharging him. How? By pressing a button that he could have easily reached. Wow, impressive. Frame on the bridge listens to some people in the kitchens while they are killed by the evil robot menace. No, it's the angels, who all take off their halos to kill people with. That's a complicated bit of programming. Why not just break their necks? It'd take less time. Anyway, now that the audience know what the audience worked out ages ago, that the robots are evil, the one that Violet and Beauregard are working on comes back to evil, evil life. Kill. The angels are killing all the survivors one by one. Why not just go to the bridge and just crash the ship? The ship's going to crash anyway, you want to kill everyone, so crashing the ship deliberately would just make it a lot more efficient. So as everyone escapes through the hole in the blockage, and unfortunately none of the unfit people die, a la Shelley Winters in the Poseidon Adventure, more's the pity. Anyway, they get away because of the cunning use of a heavy slab of metal, and up on the bridge the robots forget they can use their halos as weapons, and therefore give Frame enough time to lock them out of the room. Continuity? What's that? Also in the spirit of continuity, what's that, the Doctor managed to buy some time from a robot by asking it a question. And earlier on, someone else had asked a question, and it still killed him. Anyway, Frame is doing pretty well for a man who was shot about 20 minutes ago. Check him out, he's standing, walking, and not being dead. But he has some terrible news.
I had to use a maximum deadlock on the door, which means no one can get in. I'm sealed off. Even if you can fix the Titanic, you can't get to the bridge.
Oh, deadlock seals. Time for more bile. Russell T Davies, perhaps rightly, turned the sonic screwdriver into a multi-tool that could do anything to make sure the story did not get slowed down by extra crap. Unfortunately, through doing that, he made it impossible to create drama involving locks and doors and crap because the sonic could get through anything. So he invents the deadlock seal, something that the sonic can't get through, and soon after, deadlocks turn up in every third episode as a way to create additional drama. Basically, he created deadlocks to get around a problem that he himself had created. And they create just as many problems because how does everyone have access to a magical lock that the sonic can't open, and how can it not open it, and why can't the Doctor work a way around them? Pretty much it would have been simpler if they just limited the Sonic to its original purpose, i.e. doing shit that sound could conceivably do. If they'd just done that, then it would have been much more reasonable. Using a deadlock is just using a MacGuffin to stop another MacGuffin that you yourself invented. It's like a snake eating its own tail. And on top of this, why the fuck would anyone create a lock that literally no one can get through in case of an emergency? Wonderful, we're safe from the disaster, now we starve to death. According to Earth time, which I assume is Greenwich Mean Time, it's just hit Christmas Day.
This Christmas thing, what's it all about?
Long story. I should know, I was there.
No, you weren't. Fuck off, David Tennant. I don't know who this insertion of the Doctor into Christian festivals annoys more. Christians, who might see this as a fantasy being connected to the reality of their faith, or me, who sees it as a fantasy being connected to the reality of Doctor Who.
They could send up a rocket or something.
They don't have spaceships.
No, I read about it. They have shuffles. Space shuffles.
He's kind of right about that, Doctor. Admittedly, the space shuttles would be about as useless as a loudspeaker to Bobcat Goldthwait, but he's right about them being there. Anyway, Mr. Copper reveals that he lied about his expertise on Earth.
On Earth sounded so exotic.
No, I suppose it is, yeah.
Earth often seems exotic to aliens, who look and act identically to humans. So, emo, and because of the robots which are battering on the door, even though they have a sharpish halo thing that they could use to cut maybe through it, everyone ends up in this room. Why? Why is this here? Why is it damaged like that? What did this thing start out as? What the fuck is this? Why is this here?
This episode was badly written! Dang it! It'll never take our way.
You're going last, mate.
Oh, zing, my favourite logical asshole. Then, because the episode really agrees with Beauregard, this happens.
Bring him back! Can't you bring him back? Bring him back, Doctor!
I'm sorry, I can't.
You promised me!
Actually, he claimed to be a really old alien, and you've all been fawning over him ever since. Except for the amazing MacGuffin Omni-Tool, he never claimed to have magical powers. So the robots very slowly approach, and the Doctor seals them in. Violet has a mental breakdown, refuses to cross the bridge, and the Doctor acts like a twat.
Oi! Don't go spiking with me! Keep going!
Oh, fuck you, David Tennant. The robots finally get in by, I shit you not, going back, climbing up and finding a clear way into the room several stories up. I know that doesn't sound too unreasonable, but it takes fucking seconds.
I'm afraid we've forgotten the traditions of Christmas, that angels have wings.
What sort of a crazy bastard designs his robots, which were originally supposed to be gentle robotic servants, with the ability to fly? What's the point of that in the original design? Was it a secret only used on these robots? Because that's something pretty fucking hard to cover up. And on the wings comment, they aren't even using their fucking wings to fly. You might as well strap a rocket to a chicken and cry out that chickens can fly because they have wings. In a weird way, this reminds me of Deep Rising, except it has no Trevor Goddard and they're replacing Cthulhu with robot angels. These are but two of the reasons I much prefer Deep Rising. And why the fuck are the angels glowing?
Information. Kill.
That's not a fucking question. Oh, just do the Tron shit. You see, if they just had the robots kill with their bare hands and then reveal here that they could use the halos as weapons, this might have worked a little bit better. It would be an escalation of the threat. But no, nothing new to see here. And because the fat ass formerly known as Prince couldn't walk across a bridge, Baka has to kill himself to save everyone. Of course, I'm sure that someone must have wondered about the logic of building an EMP device into a cyborg. All he has there is a very expensive suicide device that will take anything electronic within a 50-foot radius with him. But given how bad things are for cyborgs on their planet, maybe that's for the best. And the sacrifice is in vain because one of the robots somehow managed to not be affected by the electromagnetic pulse, and because widows cannot under any circumstances be allowed to survive, she has to kill herself to get rid of it. If you remembered that robots were flying only a minute ago, then congratulations, you have a memory longer than the writer. Before the robot died, it explained that the plan was to kill the survivors so they can't witness the ship crashing into the planet, which would destroy the planet, and kind of kill them all. Again, a much faster way to kill them would have been to go straight to the bridge and deliberately crash the ship in the first place. Anyway, seeing one person who got someone else to commit suicide gets the Doctor pissed off in a way that knowing hundreds had died can't.
No more.
This Doctor doesn't give a shit about people he hasn't personally met. This is not a feature I like about him. He next has a heartfelt conversation with Astrid where she asks if she could travel with him. Of course, anyone who wasn't under a rock when the show was first broadcast knew that Kylie Minogue wasn't going to be in the next series, and everyone who was under a rock knew that Kylie Minogue wasn't going to be in the next series. So please, hurry up and get to the emotionally manipulative fuckery of a death. I'll try to be surprised. Any fucking excuse for a fucking kiss with the walking fucking scenery. Fuck! They're aliens to each other. She's like a koala bear to him. A stupid koala bear. She can't conceive of the sort of shit that passes for daydreams in his head. This is bestiality. If the fucking beast involved looked like an aging Australian pop star. And yes, the music swells, the Doctor runs over a beam that earlier could barely handle crawling people, and he rushes downstairs, which are strangely missing the blockage from earlier, and within 8 minutes makes his way down to the deck with the black hole, even though the ship is filled with debris, and he doesn't have a map. How do I know it's 8 minutes? Because earlier on, Frame said they had 8 minutes until the ship crashed. On the way, the Doctor comes across some robots, and the Doctor uses the fact that the robots' programming was written with the same level of intelligence as the rest of the script to get the robots to take him to the deck with the black hole. Okay, I guess the robots probably created holes to get them through quickly.
Take me to your leader. I've always wanted to say that.
You did say that, back in Series 1.
Take me to your leader.
Which you also wrote, Russell T Davies. Stupidity, actiony stupidity, mockish stupidity, and Astrid gets herself teleported down to Deck 31 where the Doctor's headed. She apparently has psychic powers which tell her that the Doctor is in danger and would be in slightly less danger if she was there. And she apparently can run a teleporter. A stewardess that can run a teleporter. At least she's not working for the Antichrist at the fucking UN. Down in Deck 31 the black hole opens. It's a super powerful chamber that can survive anything, and on the inside is the villain.
Only one person can have the power and the money to hide themselves on board like this.
Davros, no, it's Syl, no, it's that guy from the Caves of Androzani. Oh, fuck, it's Max Capricorn, the boss of the company who made the ship, and professional villain from Leprechaun in Space lookalike. Also winner of who can have the most stupidly sci-fi humanish sounding name in the Planet Stowe contest 3 years running. It's the Doctor versus Max Capricorn, wit versus axle grease, anger versus anger, some guy I know who annoys me versus some guy I don't know who annoys me. Max is crashing the Titanic into the Earth for the insurance money because his board of directors voted him out of the company. Wonderful plan, which could have been accomplished much quicker if he just programmed the robots to go to the bridge and crash the fucking ship.
The whole board thrown in jail for mass murder.
I don't think it would be mass murder technically. It'd be an accident, an act of God or whatever. There might be crimes the board could be pinned with, but not mass murder.
While you sit there, safe inside the impact chamber.
Also, why is he on board? He mentioned he has a ship organised to pick him up from what remains of the Earth. But why is he here? There's literally no reason for him to be here except to provide the Doctor with a face-to-face villain.
2,000 people on this ship. 6 billion underneath us, all of them slaughtered. And why? Because Max Capricorn is a loser.
I never lose.
You can't even sink the Titanic.
Oh, but I can, Doctor. I can cancel the engines from here.
Ah yes, the villain who has the power to shut off the engines, which have been failing for most of the episode. We were told we had 8 minutes until the ship crashed because of engine failure. Why didn't he just do that an hour ago? And why are you here?
Oh, host! Kill him!
Mr. Capricorn! I resign.
Never before has a forklift tried so hard to be so impressive and yet failed so much. Astrid, you are far too far away for him to hear what you're saying, and you are moving so slowly that you could be easily killed by the robots if they knew what the fuck they were doing with their throwable halos. Also, Astrid doesn't understand that the ability to leap off the side of a slow-moving vehicle has its uses, and so takes the forklift Max and herself over the edge. Now, this whole episode has been shit, but do you know what happens when you take shit and you make it even shitter? Like amping the shit up to a whole new level? Well, you get Fast and the Furious 5, but you also get the following sequence. The Doctor walks in slow motion, clicks his fingers, and 2 robots take his arms and fly him straight to the bridge, missing out all those nasty floors between Deck 31 and the bridge, because fuck floors and all the shit they do, and it's all scored with organ music. They burst in the floor of the bridge, even though I'm pretty sure that would cause major injury to the Doctor just so he can take the wheel and save the day. Because the Doctor knows much more about flying this type of shit than the guy who flies it for a fucking living. You can't see my face right now, but it looks something like this. What is the fucking point of making the floor of the bridge out of something that can be battered down by 2 killer robots when you went to the bother of making doors that could seal you in forever when attacked by killer robots? Killer robots that can fly, when the bridge is located right above their home base in the ship, when there's no floors to stop them building up whatever necessary speed they need to break through. And why doesn't the Doctor have crippling injuries or a mild case of death right now? And why the fuck did the robots do that?
Controller dead, they revert to the next highest authority. And that's me.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! 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 Bull, 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 bull! Shit, 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 shit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! Bullshit!
Well, even though most things are fucked up, I'm glad the machine that goes ping is okay, because I refuse to accept that that's a sonar on a spaceship, which flies in one medium where sound cannot be. Anyway, like I said earlier, the Doctor is so much better at piloting than the guy who's paid to do it, and he manages to save the day by restarting the engines by channeling heat from re-entry into them. But try not to think about that, because we have 2 moments that are almost as fucking painful as the laser scene in The Doctor's Daughter coming up. The first is the Doctor sending a message to the Queen to evacuate Buckingham Palace, even though if the ship crashes it will destroy the whole fucking planet, and the second is this, which is even worse.
Thank you. Happy Christmas.
You know, the Queen is an admitted Doctor Who fan, and I shudder to think what she thought when she saw that. I just hope it involved the words, "What the fuck was that?" The Doctor then remembers that since Astrid had a teleport bracelet on, it's automatically saved her in the Doctor Who equivalent of a pattern buffer.
If a passenger has an accident on shore leave and they're still wearing their teleport, their molecules are automatically suspended and held in stasis.
Which is wonderful, but it kind of fucks up the earlier line about the crew not being able to go to Earth because there isn't insurance for them. Exactly why is insurance needed? Or is that just something they tell people to stop them going down and scaring people on the planets they visit? But, oh yes, they let the red spiky dwarf go down. Fuck this! Astrid is still dead because of the plot.
She's just atoms, Doctor. An echo with the ghost of consciousness. She's stardust.
Stop fucking reminding me of better films. So what does the Doctor do when faced with this half-alive, half-dead apparition? He kisses it and uses his magic wand to make it permanent, without the fucking consent of the person, spending eternity flying alone through space. That is much worse than being dead, you dick. You've just created Dave Bowman without the hope of ever becoming the Star Child. So we near the end. The logical asshole is still a logical asshole. Frame is perfectly okay because bullets, what the fuck do they do anyway? And Mr. Copper monologues a bit about how it's wrong for the Doctor to choose who lives and who dies.
But if you could choose, Doctor, if you could decide who lives and who dies, that would make you a monster.
Of course you're ignoring that every time the Doctor saves anyone, he is choosing who lives and who dies. He chooses to get involved. He chooses his actions. If the Doctor was to be completely unconnected, he'd never go anywhere. So yeah, on the surface it's a powerful speech, but it gets stupider the more you think about it. What happens to Mr. Copper? The Doctor takes him to Earth and lets him stay there, with his £1 million credit card, which he uses to make a worldwide technological foundation that helps out in the stolen Earth, because those things frequently only take £1 million to do.
There she is. Survive anything.
Anything, except for a replica of the Titanic hitting it. Of course, the rest of David Tennant's era would have been much more amusing if it had Mr. Copper following him around, thinking he knew stuff about everything and constantly being wrong. It would have been a great change of pace from the attractive and not so attractive woman that followed him around usually. But I already talked about that earlier. All hail Mr. Copper! And we end on a tribute to the brilliant and trailblazing Verity Lambert, one of the first female TV producers ever and co-creator of Doctor Who and Adam Adamant Lives. She was a legend, and she deserved to be given tribute to in a much better episode than this. This is terrible. fucking awful. Nothing works except for Mr. Copper and the casting of Bernard Cribbins. I can't help but think it was deliberately this bad. Someone somewhere thought it'd be funny to see what crap people ate up at Christmas. If I never have to see it again after finishing this review, I will be so very, very, very happy.